This is Marketing Uncomplicated. Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Today I have Manel Gomez, who is a meta ad specialist for e-commerce brands with a track record of 25 million in profitable ad spend for his clients. Currently managing anywhere from 300 to 500,000, and that's a month, in ad spend, mainly selling in the US and Central Europe. He frequently attends the Meta headquarters in Europe to have the latest platform features and algorithm updates, which is key, guys, because this is changing daily. He's an international speaker in conferences like Affiliate World Europe, Ads Accelerator Mastermind, Dubai, Barcelona, and more. Welcome to the show, Manel. It's really great to have you.
Thank you so much, Sasha. My pleasure to hear, and thanks everybody who joins. Super
Yes.
happy.
Yes, likewise. And I'm super happy to dig into everything that we're going to today, which I think is a crucial topic just
Yes.
because of the up and down wave that Facebook has presented us and, folks that are running ads on social media and the
Yeah.
stress that sometimes it can involve with the unknown. So let's just go back and talk about how Facebook has really evolved in terms of ad spend and,
Yeah.
where you're seeing a lot of things and changing that are both positive and negative for the upcoming years to come.
Nice. Yeah, 100%. So, it's been a fun ride. I started running ads. I think I published my first ad in 2016 or 2017.
Yeah.
So back then it was completely different. And I'm not one of the, let's say, old dogs. Like people started in 2014 or 2015 when you had to manually upload Excel sheets into the platform, Power Manager, something like that. Crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, but the main evolution has been the challenges of the platform, the difficulty, the level of competition. At the end of the day, of course, they upload platform, the ads manager, the way you see things, make it look better, design, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's just the market is evolving and it's getting more and more difficult to succeed nowadays. And part of the reasons we're here today to just give insights and explain a little bit more to everybody what's kind of working right now and where the bar is. Because
Yes.
2016 to 2020, it was like watch a YouTube video, learn how to publish ads on the platform, and then you're good to go. More or less, whatever you publish could click. 2020, past COVID, especially past iOS 14, things get tougher, right? And so the ones who go really deep and try to learn those secrets, pay more attention, test more stuff, get the extra thing, and they can maintain ROAS. But the ones who don't find challenge. So
Yes. And just for the
phenomenal.
listeners, let's explain to them what the ROAS is.
Yes, ROAS is return on ad spend, which I would say is the king metric when you're running ads, because what you care about is the return. How much money am I making based on how much I'm spending?
Exactly.
And so if you're spending 100 and you make in revenue from those 100 in ad spend, you make 500, the ROAS is 5.
Yes.
So depending on profit margins, you want a minimum ROAS of 2 or 3 or 1.5, just depends on the brand.
Yeah, no, that's great. I do want to dig into, did you find as a digital marketer that COVID was a little bit of an anomaly in terms of what was learned from the behaviors? I mean, obviously being that, majority of people were at home, but there was a lot of changes that were happening and things that I think that formulated coming out of COVID, especially it's like when you go in and potentially do an audit with a client, right? You would probably take a look at pre-COVID, COVID, and then, post-COVID and beyond. And then, then the intersection of bringing in AI and so on and so forth. So let's talk a little bit about that journey, because I think, that audit is very interesting to look at and understand, especially when like jumping into a company or even as a company themselves, taking a look back.
Yeah. I break down COVID e-commerce and related to e-commerce and Facebook ads in 3 phases, where phase 1 was extremely low advertising costs because everybody cut down the advertising spend. So you have a really low CPM phase. Phase 2 is the golden era because it was when costs were still down, but a percentage of the market was already, capitalizing on the fact that people were staying at home. And so this was the golden era. And then phase 3 was when costs just went up because everybody realized, oh, people are actually buying more than they were buying before. And this is crazy. Many new brands were born in COVID. And so then it was high costs and a little bit more competition. And so for the brands that were there early, COVID was phenomenal. And I'm
Yeah.
saying for small brands, for even drop shippers that starting branded drop shipping that started, selling products that they were not expecting this would be a
Take
top selling
off.
product. Yeah. And it did. So it was a completely different market. And it was the one who tests and tries the most wins.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was crazy.
That's
So those
amazing.
three
Yeah.
phases.
Yeah. I think it's a very interesting concept because of also how businesses had to shift the way
Mm,
in which they either presented their product or service, and if they had the ability to shift to kind of really push out into how the world was changing during those couple of months and so on. So I think definitely that scope in terms of looking back during COVID and then post are
yeah.
very interesting slices to any business who especially has been around. Even those who were born in COVID and then what happened to them after COVID is very interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's quite
2021
sad.
was, yeah, it was sad. It was sad because, I mean, you cannot paint a picture based on COVID and then expect that's going to be the 10 years
Sure,
following COVID. It
sure.
could not be like that. But at the end of the day, many brands were born in COVID, and year after, either they crashed or had to completely switch, launch new products, and adapt to the
Yeah,
market.
yeah,
So it was very difficult in terms of customer behavior because you go from somebody
yes,
just being at home 24/7 to then 2021, not specifically in e-commerce, but I remember in the info space, courses and stuff like that, nobody wanted to consume online courses. Everybody wanted to do in-person masterminds in 2021
yes.
because everybody want to be
Get out.
outside, meet
Yeah,
people. Exactly. So that's a trend, and we have to adapt e-commerce sales to that. And so I remember I had a client that was selling cosmetics, and COVID was a little bit tough, makeup, because if you're at home, you know, sometimes you will use makeup just to feel good, but
yeah,
many times you're like, I'm not going out anywhere, I'm not going to use this or that, or as much as I would if I have to go to the office or go to a date or whatever. And then
yeah.
2021, it was crazy up. So you just had to adapt to what do people want in 2020 and 2021 and so on.
Yes. It's just the trends and listening to the audience and where they are and what's really
Yeah.
happening in the environment. Very interesting. So let's really take a look at, I think last year, well, you tell me as the expert, where did we start to see like a real shift that was happening within the Facebook ad spend that was really that was really prominent in terms of like focus? Because there is a threshold in terms of what you should be spending on a daily
Hmm.
basis, right?
Yeah.
For you to actually see some type of like ROAS, or even not just to get information from the the trends or like what your consumers are seeing or how your consumers are behaving with your to really discover the product market fit. But I think what I'm asking is there is a real difference between small to mid to enterprise companies. And I think that if we could clarify that for our listeners to understand, so that they don't get frustrated in the sense of like, well, I've spent this and Facebook just doesn't work for me, because that's what you continuously keep hearing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, one of the ways that I use to simplify it is a really small business is about I've got to find either the one product or the one angle or the one way to sell this product, which is one landing page or is one type of ad creative. That if I find this one thing, then I can spend 100 a day.
Yes.
It's one thing. Mid, which would be let's say anywhere in between 200 a day in ad spend up to 2,000 a day in ad spend. It's amplifying. I've got to find multiple winning products. I've got to find multiple winning angles, like ways to sell my product. If I'm selling, I don't know, a sleep mask, so I'm using the sleep sales angle, but I'm also using the beauty sales angle, because if you have deep sleep, then you're producing more collagen and you're going to be looking better. So
Yeah.
it's just about finding multiple ways to sell the same thing. That's that stage. And then the stage where it's like a big corporation, or you can spend 5-10K a day consistently. um you've got like everybody's your audience and you're selling to the mass market. You really have to expand in product. So either penetrate new countries, so if you're in the US, go to Europe, or if you're in Europe, you definitely have to move to the US.
Yeah.
So logistics, warehouses, amplifying your products, stuff
And
like
your
that.
reach. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So different challenge for every different moment. And in regards to the minimum spend, there's usually a rule that's at least 1,000 a month. Below that, if you want to get sales, doesn't really make sense because you're going to get very limited data. So you need to be able to commit to 1,000 a month minimum, and then it depends on the AOB. Like if I'm selling a product that's $100 AOB, average order value, with 30 a day, I'm not going to do much.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit more. But if I'm selling a product that's $15, yeah, with 30 a day, I can do
Yeah. Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Because you're so what is the calculation and the metrics based on that, and how is that sort of calculated so people can understand that?
Yeah. So for testing phases, when you're trying to get sales with different ads, usually I try to spend the AOB before I pause a test. And
Yes.
so I would like to spend the AOB in the space of 3 days, for example. And so if my AOB is, let's say, 60, then my daily budget for that specific ad set is going to be 20 a day. And then 20 a day over 3 days will give me enough clicks, hopefully, and information so that I can determine this test against the other variation is winning or is losing, and then I can have a relevant conclusion. Because one very important thing about Facebook ads is it's a discovery platform. Like you create something, which is product, it's the creative, it's the landing page. You create the experience, you craft that, and then you bring this to mass market. And then
Yeah.
mass market is going to bring feedback back to you, and you will see that in the ads manager. And so it's about discovering how do I sell my product through testing. So being smart at testing and testing the right things in the right order, I think is one of the most important things to not burn a lot of budget to start.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But to not just invest a small amount of budget to then turn around and say that it's not working for you, right? Because you at least need to be spending a certain amount to reach the level of what competitors are spending out there for your ads to even be seen, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Because in that case, if like the minimum threshold or like the suggested minimum is like $1,000 a month and somebody dips in and spends $400 a month, is this statement of saying that your ad is never going to be seen accurate?
Um, it will be seen. Like you just
The
have to.
impression wise.
Yeah, it's gonna receive impressions, but
Yes.
it's like you don't gather enough. At the end of the day, Facebook ads is machine learning,
Yes.
and so there's one thing that's called exploratory algorithm, and that exploratory algorithm is, to give you a super simple example. I'm selling cosmetics. I'm targeting broad, no audience. I'm targeting broad through cosmetics, and this exploratory algorithm at first is wondering, I don't know if men or women will be interested on this. But you're
Yes.
selling makeup, and but the exploratory algorithm is like, I'm just gonna take a sample audience and see who react to this ad, men or women, I don't know. And you're like, it's so obvious. Yeah, but it's still machine learning, so it has to figure out the age, has to figure out the gender, has to figure out when do they click the ad more often, when you're using mobile data or Wi-Fi, when they're in the sofa chilling, or you know what I mean. So
Yes.
the machine learning will figure out many of the things, and with $5 a day, $10 a day, there's not much figuring out.
Yes. Yes.
So
And then what about this stop and go? I'm sure you've experienced this with some clients where they're like, they throw budget and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we need to pause. It From what I know, it's something that you should never sort of just completely halt because of the fact that you bring up this concept of machine learning. It
hmm.
needs to have a threshold to continue. So if you are going to stop X amount of campaigns, you can do that, but at least have some type of brand awareness ad running, correct?
Yeah, both for the machine learning and for staying top of mind, because nobody buys first touch. Let's face it. Like, we used to have this illusion, or put the ad, people click, they buy immediately.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't do it. Probably you don't do it either. So you have to have seen the brand a little bit. There's a follow-up process. And so now we talk about the algorithm, but on the other side, being and staying top of mind means that the moment that I click, at least for this click to be profitable, I should see the ad or see you 3, 4, 5 times more. And so if
Yeah.
we build up this momentum, and then we cancel, stop all the ad spend, and then build it up again, it's a wave that you have to create, and you create a wave of people that are interested, and you don't know when you're going to capture those sales exactly. It's not going to be in day one, might
Yeah.
not be in day three. So it depends on the customer journey and how long does it take for them to buy. So it is really not smart to pause ads, and I would rather keep a low budget. And also from the side of machine learning algorithm and things, keep feeding the algorithm. Once that they have a little bit of data, you don't want to bring this back into a exploratory algorithm again, trying
Sure.
to figure out things from scratch as you've done already some work. So yeah,
No,
not pausing.
I completely agree with you. I do want to get into the complementary channels that can support the Facebook ad spends, but I do want to dive into the growth of the technicalities that have really happened, throughout Facebook, and how it has evolved and how it's changing just from the format of how someone like yourself supports clients from their spend.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as I said at the beginning, it's been getting more and more challenging. And the thing with the clients, with brands, everybody that wants to grow is we want to spend more money all the time. How do we spend more money? How can we increase the ad spend? So you got to get more technical to figure it out, because just posting random ads in an ABO setup, random normal ad sets, and if something works, you double the budget, just seems to not be working anymore. So how do I increase the budget? How do I duplicate new ad sets? In what structure? So things like these are the things where I try to hack a little bit, let's say, the system. So, for example, including manual bidding, which is something that I really suggest everybody to dive a little bit deep into. So you develop a
Manual
strategy,
bidding versus what other type of bidding?
automatic,
Okay,
where the machine is deciding how much you bid
for
into each
you.
auction.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you
So
think that sometimes they do that because they're wanting you to spend more versus like it's much like just tell us the difference between the two, because I think that I never have chosen manual bidding, like, and so I just think it's interesting because maybe they don't suggest what's exactly right because they're not the ones that are deep into the understanding of your product service, your
yeah,
ICPs and all that.
I mean, the goal of Meta is that you touch as least as possible, right?
Sure. And
So
spend more and spend as much as possible.
yeah, yeah. So never go down in ad spend and give us all the power.
Yeah.
Manual bidding has been a really amazing discovery that I did in 2020, 2021 to scale. So I don't test with manual bidding, but the moment that I find winning at creatives, then I want to introduce something different, because and I don't want to overcomplicate it, but there's another thing called audience overlap, and basically you competing with yourself in the auction. If you do the same thing, if you duplicate the same ad set 10 times, which people used to do back in the day, but it's just stupid and you're going to get punished. And so phase one is I want to look into finding new creatives. But once you finally find winning at creatives, you discover that image ads perform fantastic for you. Okay, what do you do? You're spending 50 a day. What do you do? And so then the technicalities that you mentioned, I have to introduce manual bidding, which is cost cap and bid cap. And we can dive deeper later if you want to. But
Hmm.
manual bidding, cost cap, bid cap, then I want to
Just
develop a
briefly, just briefly explain to us the cost cap and the bid cap.
yeah. So cost cap is basically way more open. It's cost cap. If you put it's a limit on how much you wanna spend to get a purchase,
Hmm.
and you indicate. The keyword is indicate. With cost cap, you're indicating Facebook how much you'd like to pay for a purchase on average in the long term. So if
Yes.
you put cost cap 20, that means in the long term, not today, I
Yes.
would like to pay 20 for purchase. Then bid cap is much more restricting. So bid cap, it's not an indication, it's a restriction. So you're restricting Meta. If you put a bid cap of $20, you're telling Meta, do not enter and participate in any auction if you cannot guarantee me that I'm going to get a purchase for $20. So you completely restrict them.
Yeah.
And so if they don't see it very clear that they're going to get a purchase for 20, because at that moment the auction is very competitive, they're not going to bid and you're not going to spend.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that would be the difference. And then for bidding, you have two options. You've got underbidding, which means, long story short, if the product is $100 you tell Facebook, I would like to pay 20 to get a purchase, which makes
Yeah.
sense, is what at first everybody does. And then there's another strategy, which is overbidding. And so this one is about bullying your competitors in the auction. And this is the one that I do.
Yes.
And the basis of
Because,
this is,
and not to interrupt you, but sometimes when you run the ad, doesn't Facebook basically say, competitors within your space are spending X?
yeah,
And is that number accurate, or is it just pushing you to
no,
spend more? It's not.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's not, they could give you an estimate, but
Sure.
nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so overbidding, it is very interesting, especially for lowering CPMs for high competition periods like Black Friday. I was overbidding like crazy. For a brand, when I'm looking to pay $40 for a purchase, I was bidding at 200.
Okay.
At first, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But the process is, at first, I do a really smart creative testing, stuff like this. Once I really figure out this is a really good ad, everybody wants it, everybody clicks here, high CTR, the platform loves it. So this is a really good asset. So with this, then I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna overbid with a sense of safety, security. I feel safe. I can tell Facebook I wanna pay a lot to get a purchase. And the effect of this thing is, one, I'm going to place myself higher in the auction. And my goal is to, for example, on, let's say, Instagram stories, I want I want the ad to appear the first one, not number 15 story, when people are already tired of consuming Instagram and they leave and the behavior changes. I want when people are fresh, when there's a high likelihood of people clicking. And so basically I want to bully my competitors with
Yeah.
overbidding. And so that would be the two ways of doing manual bidding.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. I mean, so what then, because we're talking about like, the bidding aspect of like what Facebook presents to you and so on. What are things to look out for as you're setting up your ad where kind of, Facebook gives you insights that you should just completely ignore? Is it everything? Or is it, pay attention to some of the stuff they present to you? Just give us a little bit of insight on that,
Yeah.
because I think especially like the smaller businesses that are either getting somebody to run the ad that may not be as well in depth as you are, or maybe they're running the ads themselves. I think it's a catch 22 to just be able to understand, am I doing the right things, because there's a multitude of steps before you even get something out into market.
Yeah. So the suggestions you're going to get from Facebook are going to be primarily give us control, touch nothing. And
Yes.
so, and the way Facebook does it is very interesting. At first, they give you the option. Do you want to use these, or do you want to use the old method? Then the new method is checked by default. And then it gets to a point that this check becomes gray and you cannot touch it. So that's the way they introduce stuff. Yeah, and they're going to do this with Advantage Plus campaigns. They did it with audiences.
Yeah.
They're going to do it with everything, right? So anyways, I would say people have to pay attention to not, like, especially if you're testing. If you're testing, try to remain in control. Meaning, if in the ad tab, when you're creating the ad with the copy and the image, if Facebook's telling you use flexible ad creative, just don't do it if you're testing images, because they're going to take the image and they're going to convert that into a video. And when you try to analyze, did this image work? And if you see a good ROAS, I will ask you, was it the image or the video that Facebook created automatically? And you don't
Okay.
know.
Okay.
So it's not a good conclusion.
Yeah.
And I would just ignore everything that, and if you're creating a new campaign and you want to do it with ABO, which is ad set budget optimization. So you want to do it through ABO, not Advantage Plus.
Yes.
Two types of campaigns. So testing is done with ABO. That's what I follow. But Facebook's going to suggest use Advantage Plus campaign, and they just say no. And so we probably have the advantage that we were involved with Facebook ads before they were so strict with give us control.
Yes.
And so we had that foundation. But for people that are newer, it looks like Facebook's giving a great suggestion, but I would say, don't take it.
Yeah.
Because the goal from Facebook has two goals, of course. Number one, user satisfaction. Number two, make a lot of money from advertisers. But the way they make a lot of money from advertisers is by like onboard more advertisers, newer ones, but
Yes.
avoid the CPM going up. And so how do I add more players without increasing costs? It's really
Yeah.
a challenge, and it's a publicly traded company, so it has to give higher profits every year. So it's really challenging, and they are developing stuff to keep the same cost, like CPM, to
Yeah.
old advertisers so that they don't decrease the ad spend. But to new advertisers, don't create a huge challenge. And they are developing ways to do that. Just to give you an example, they launched a multi-advertiser checkbox, basically in the ad section. If you check this thing, then your ad is going to appear kind of like there's one ad that features 4 ads. And
One
so
ad that features 4 ads. Okay.
you appear together with your competitors. Let's say we're selling glasses. So there's going to be, let's say, a story that looks like a carousel, and it's 4 brands in one ad.
4 brands in one ad. Okay.
And so for one user impression, they're doing 4 impressions.
So
And
they're
so they,
sharing the impressions essentially. Okay. So it's almost, are they taking from what the ad exchange system was doing in a way?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And it's the way to keep on putting more advertisers in the platform without increasing cost.
Yeah.
So again, conclusion
So
from
similar
this,
to display ads is what I wanted
yeah,
to say. And that's kind of what they're adopting from that
they just want to keep the CPM the same so people
level.
don't drop the ad spend.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And so they keep on making money.
Yeah.
So
That's
every
wild.
suggestion that Facebook gives you, like, I would say avoid it for as long as it's avoidable,
Yes.
because
Yes.
it will become mandatory.
I know, because I have some small businesses, when you sign up, and some of the pains that they go through is that, oh, I got connected with, a Facebook representative,
Yeah,
and they're just like, I just feel like they are encouraging me to spend and spend and spend and spend without me necessarily seeing the return at that point, so
yeah.
they're like, I don't know which direction to go.
We and a friend, we have a hypothesis that I mean, nothing against these people, but
Yeah.
we have the hypothesis that they work on commission.
Okay. Most likely. I mean, it's sales at the end of the day.
It is sales, because if you see how hard they cold call you to
Yes.
offer the service, it is crazy.
Yes.
And I work with a team of it's like let's say private support in Madrid. It's like a team of 2 girls, 1 guy. I would say that's great as a service. They give you a little bit of insights. They give you aggregated data from competitors and some extra tips. You can reach them out to solve stuff quick. It's great. But this meta marketing support,
Yes.
it's not too good. It's
Yes.
not too good. Because also they are incentivized, I think, to force you into running traffic campaigns, running awareness campaigns,
Yes.
opening the top of the funnel.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's like they try to, I don't know what's the opposite of something getting crowded, but they want to make space in the purchase campaigns.
Yes.
So if everybody's running purchase campaigns, it gets really crowded in the auction. So it becomes problematic. So they're trying to move people out of purchase campaigns on 100% of their account budget. And they say, spend 30% on traffic and then 70% on purchase. And
Yeah.
you're
And
like,
then the
traffic?
traffic really doesn't give you much. I mean, it's
No.
just impressions or visits or clicks to the
Yeah.
site, and
Yeah.
that may never convert.
It won't ever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it just gives you traffic.
Yes. Yeah. So in terms of the type of ad that you should be running, I mean, what is the percentage in your opinion? Or is it just strictly stay away from traffic ads?
um,
It
Depends
depends
on the
on your
size.
goal and the size. Yeah.
The size, because basically run traffic or awareness when you can afford it and you don't mind about losing that money.
Yeah. Because you're going to lose
So
it anyway. It's just going to go into thin air. And let's not
correct.
talk about the fraud that happens as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to give you an example, and this is a really good strategy that I implemented this year. For retargeting during the week of Black Friday, it gets very expensive, huge CPM, because you're
Yes.
retargeting a small audience in the highest competition period of the year. So I came up with the idea of why don't we run retargeting with the objective of reach instead of purchase. to people that have bought from us historically, to people that have been on the website in the last one day. I mean, high budget, but 24-hour retargeting with reach objective, man, it makes sense. And it was good ROAS. But because it's Black Friday, it's retargeting. So it's kind of like makes sense and it's going to be cheaper. So it was a great idea.
Yeah.
Would I run reach campaigns for prospecting in the middle of February? No, doesn't make sense. So I would say people just stay away from it unless you want to use it very tactically in some flash campaign on retargeting or stuff like that.
Do you advise clients, obviously there are big events like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we have President's Weekend coming up. Do you look at their strategy and say, you know what, let's avoid, for some clients, you may not do this for all, because for some clients it may make sense to run them during specific calendar holidays that are happening because that brand will do really well.
Yeah.
And do you then sometimes just maybe tell a client, let's run the ad after, and you'll see more of a return on investment post these holidays? Is that how you sometimes formulate?
100%. Like, for example, Black Week, we don't test. Or in the peak days of Christmas, we don't launch new tests.
Yes.
Or this week, for example, after Tuesday or so, I'm trying not to launch new stuff because it's the peak of, let's say, Valentine's.
Yes.
And so I try to play it very strategically to avoid the market moves in waves.
Yes.
And so launching new stuff, and the other thing is the salary. So I think in the US people get paid every 2 weeks, but in Europe it's once a month. So that conditions market liquidity. And when you're selling through Facebook ads, you're going again to the mass market. So you have to have mass thinking. And mass thinking means that people have higher willingness to spend towards the end of the month and the beginning of the month, because people just got the salary. And so there's more money in the bank account and you want to spend more.
Yes.
So from the, let's say in Europe, from the 15th until the 25th, it is a really bad period. And so people that are trying to make a new ad spend record, I want to get to 500 in daily ad spend for the first time in my life. Why would you do it in between the 15th and the 25th? It doesn't play in your favor. Yeah. And so that's something that I call wave surfing. Like you see the market moving in waves and you adapt the budget to that. And so another example, through Shopify, you can see the historical top day of the week in sales historically for a brand. There's a way to see that. So I saw that it's on Sunday for one fashion client. So every single Sunday, 3 p.m. I increase the budget, 9 p.m. I decrease the budget. And we have a really big peak in sales because it's proven that historically, I don't know if people stay at home on Sundays and they're more comfortable, and Saturdays are bad, probably because they're out. I don't know. It's mass market thinking. So you got to be strategic.
Yeah, you got to be strategic and do the research in terms of like purchasing power and purchasing habits. So it isn't that you set a budget and it's like set it and forget it. You basically look at and dig into changing the budget day over day just based on historical habits of purchasing within that industry.
Yes,
correct?
Yes. You try to anticipate what's going to happen on the market. I mean, we can't, but we try to. And so
there is at least a 5,000-foot view of like a baseline to start with, and then that's when the testing and learning happens, is what you're explaining. Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. Well, the age-old question that, I'm sure you get a lot of now, and it's kind of like really, diluted or beginning to be diluted, but not really, because it's almost like riding a wave where it's like AI and then it dies down. And then it's like, oh my God, this is coming about. And oh, you should fear your job in the next 6 months and so on. Like it's picking up faster and it just kind of is moving, either really quickly, then slowing down, and then there's another burst and slowing down. So I know that there has been other platforms that have integrated in with, being able to work and kind of win on platforms. I remember, gosh, this was probably maybe 10, 11, 12 years ago, where there was a company that had come out where they had gathered X amount of data. You could basically take an ad that you had designed internally and it would spit out X amount of different ads. and you can start to test. What are your thoughts? What are your thought process on these type of platforms that are coming in? Do you, as somebody who works with clients, use additional platforms to kind of support further growth and further like wins within the platform? Because I'm sure it's not just I'm going to set an ad in Facebook and I'm going to run it from there.
Yeah, yeah. So yes and no. Meaning,
Excuse
bless
me.
you. I'm
Sorry.
not. No problem. I'm not really scared about AI because, as I see it in the advertising world, what is giving you so far is speed. It is good, but
Yes.
it doesn't mean that. Let's look at it from the aspect of ad creatives. If my competitor is using AI to create more ads than I am, yes, they will have more ads, but that doesn't mean that I have zero ads. It means that
Yes.
I have 5 or 7. So there is more volume. That is good, but I might have more quality. And so yes, you have more speed and you might be a little bit more accurate, but it's not. It is player versus player, but it's not like a net zero game, which the one who uses AI wins and the one not using AI is losing, at least
Yep.
for now. And so, not much to be scared. I do use platforms, but again, I use them either out of laziness or to just have more variations. So, for example,
Yes.
11 Labs, you can use 11 Labs. We use it to basically modify voiceovers of videos and then take that voice and translate it into German, for example. It
Okay.
is a
Yeah.
pain in the ass to ask.
Sure. A
We've got a,
translator, go through that process. Yeah.
it is impossible.
This is where cost effectiveness comes in with AI and
Yes.
speed and
So,
agility to market.
exactly. So I can launch a lot of videos. Does it mean that people using images and just translating the text are going to lose? Short term, no. And so this fear and FOMO is mainly promoted by people that have invested in AI
Absolutely.
or
Yeah.
have companies related to AI
Yeah.
and they are heavily advertising, which
Yeah.
I don't blame them. It's good marketing and it's working. But I would not be extremely scared. Get
Yeah.
used to using ChatGPT. Use a few of these subscription softwares for that are using AI, like 11 Labs. For ads, I also use Lovo.ai. There are a few, but nothing crazy. Nobody's gonna miss out on anything. It's like I mentioned sometimes Lovo AI. Which one? Which one? They want to kind of write it down. It's like nope, nope. There are many. No, no.
Yeah.
I'm not
Many
really worried.
alternatives. Yeah.
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 And for example, if as a media buyer, and I'm sure some media buyers will listen to the podcast, if AI were to replace a media buyer, it will take probably 5 to 10 years. And your job will become, do you train AIs on doing media buying? And so a media buyer, instead of having 3 clients, 5 clients,
He has one.
no, I would say the opposite. You're training the AI.
To manage multitude. Yeah, that's what I meant. You have one client, which is your AI, and then you have a multitude of clients to do the work for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So you become the trainer of an AI. And because you are a media buyer and you have a lot of knowledge and you know about creatives, but you know about wave surfing and you know about budgets and manual bidding, you give this training, which is what has value in myself. I give the training to an AI. Okay. So you're not gonna do the manual job, but you're still gonna have a job. And
Yeah.
so don't be scared.
Yeah. Bottom line, things aren't changing as fast as they appear to be.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Um,
marketing.
so it is marketing, says the two marketers on the call.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so true. I mean, because it's really there's really a lot of like fear mongering because I mean a lot of like small like business owners that I've spoken to or worked with. I mean, a lot of the times it's like, why are you using this? Oh, I was marketed this. Like, they told me that this was the best thing for me to do, and unfortunately, 90% of the time, the choices they've made aren't necessarily the best thing because it's what marketing is putting in front of them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like for example, I love HubSpot and I think it's a great CRM, but is it good for a mom and pops? No, it's expensive, and it's not going to support them in their growth because it's like they're going to get you the more emails that you have into the system, right? And you're also not going to be utilizing and maximizing what it
Yep.
offers
Yep.
from making it the engine that it can be, right? So, but it's because they've dominated the market share and share of voice. That's why every small business owner that I've spoken to is either on HubSpot or
Yeah.
transitioning off of Mailchimp to jump into HubSpot.
Good marketing.
Yeah, very good marketing. So one of the things that I wanted to, tap into a little bit more is, what are the things to really be looking out for in this year of 2025, since we are at the top of the year, and having this discussion within Q1, what are the things that we should be looking for, and what are the trends that are going to be peeking into the coming year, as it relates to spend on social and on Facebook?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, a little bit more long term. So I'd say a year to 2 years. I think Meta is going to release. I mean, it's already released. I've been in the beta phase of this
Phase.
thing in the US. It's going to be Instagram checkout, which is going to emulate TikTok Shop. They have to launch it
Yeah.
fast. And I was in another podcast discussing why is Facebook not launching something like TikTok Shop ASAP
Yeah.
fast. And I think
Did
that
they lean on the fact that Instagram had it?
kind of they had it, but you could shop through Instagram from organic.
Hmm.
But from ads, I was in the beta, and you've got website and shop as an option right now in the ad set level, but it's not being pushed. I don't see a lot of ads using it. There are not really great instant experiences that keep you in the platform to shop. So it's kind of released, but not fully released. And I think the strategy that Facebook plays all the time is I'm gonna let, let's say, TikTok Shop do the heavy lifting. Once everybody has had adoption of shopping inside of a social platform, then I'm gonna release mine, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna try to acquire. So I think they acquired Snapchat, or they literally copied. So Snapchat did the heavy lifting of stories, this type of format that it
Sure.
was not existing on Instagram. They did the heavy lifting and then they copied. And so next 1 to 2 years, we're gonna see copies from other platforms um, into Meta, and the main
Yeah.
one is gonna be Instagram checkout. I think basically native in-platform shopping experiences, which is gonna change a lot the what we do in the landing page. Like, we're not gonna have a website, so we're gonna have an instant experience. And how
Yes.
do we optimize this experience of shopping inside of the app? So that's gonna be a new thing. More short term, I would say we're gonna continue to see an increase in CPM, and the only way to fight this is by increasing the CTR, which is the percentage of out of 1,000 people, how many people are clicking on my ad.
Yeah.
And so if my CPM was this and my CTR was this, once my CPM gets here, because there's more competition, whatever, if I leave my CTR flat, I'm gonna lose, and the CPC will be higher and higher and higher. And so the only way that I can fight this is by increasing the CTR, which means doing better at creatives that resonate more with the user. Just make them click more. So
Yeah.
find a way to do that. And in a podcast, I saw a really good example that mentioned UGC. So these videos where basically it's a selfie video with somebody making a sales pitch
Yeah.
are not working anymore. And it just makes sense because 4 years ago, we were not used to seeing somebody that we don't know talking about a third party brand and
Yes.
recommending it. So we would trust it. But once Instagram has become a platform of discovery, which means I go on Instagram and I don't see my friends.
Yeah.
I just see discovery of memes and pages that I like, podcasts, shorts, stuff like this. But I don't see my friends eating pizza. And that used to be the norm a couple of years ago. It's not anymore. And as this organic behavior has changed, the advertising behavior has to change. So this UGC of people making a sales pitch, it's not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
So what can I do? What are people consuming nowadays in organic that are going to make them click? And so you have to dive into the organic Instagram experience. How do they use the platform nowadays based on their age and stuff like this?
Yeah.
Are they consuming memes? Is it all before and after? I don't know. But you have to make that research to increase the CTR and try to understand it. And it's copywriting.
Yes.
Learn how to sell to a mass market.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
that's the most difficult part of of advertising, and you usually find it past the 200 daily ad spend. Past
Very
that,
interesting.
it's like I already burned through the low hanging fruit audience that was ready to buy, and it was kind of easy to acquire. Now I have to sell my product to somebody that's not interested at first and does not know the brand. Whoa,
Yeah, that's
that's
wild.
that's
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah. Because there isn't an affinity with somebody that's randomly pushing something because it's like it's not maybe an influencer that you have followed or seen, right? So I think that there's a little bit of a disconnect from that.
Yeah, yeah,
Unless that they are a major influencer in that arena and then you discover
yes,
that, then I think that that's different. But if they're just a random person, then I think that it just really essentially becomes an ad. I mean,
yeah.
it's an ad, right? I mean, it's not
But it
an
used to
ad.
feel organic and authentic
Yeah.
4 years ago. You were like, oh, there's this guy talking about the brand. Hey, if you're a guy and you would like to have an amazing beard, then this brand, you're gonna love it. You're like, ah, he's talking to me.
Yeah.
Wow. But nowadays, I'm like,
Who is this guy?
yeah, who are you?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
with the sales pitch, I'm checking the memes. Ciao.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't annoy me.
because consumers are becoming a lot smarter, and I think that that's a whole other conversation, you
Yeah.
know. So, on
That,
riding that wave, where
yeah.
they're able to understand what marketers have been doing for
Mm,
years, and things are just becoming they're just becoming more aware, you know, of like, oh, I'm
yeah.
being sold to versus okay, this is really organic.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So that's gonna be another trend for this year, like becoming better at copywriting and
yeah,
selling without
yeah,
selling.
yeah, totally. Manel, this has been really informative and we dug into a lot of technicalities and like, you know, I mean, I think it's a world that, you know, obviously that you are in and inundated with on a day-to-day basis. And I think it's, you know, very interesting from the standpoint of, you know, ensuring that people are doing the right thing, how to navigate this world, which, you know, is a little bit tricky if you're not in it on a
Yeah.
day-to-day and daily basis, but at least knowing from the sidelines of a 5,000 foot view in terms of what to look for, what to not do, and so on and so forth, I think is extremely important.
100%. 100%. Yeah. I hope it was useful. It is
Yes,
difficult to talk about something so technical through just a podcast, but it's always nice to,
yes, yes.
share a little bit.
Yes, and I wanna ask you one last question that I usually ask a lot of my podcast guests. You know, any advice from somebody dipping their toes into this? You know, just on a stand of, you know, moving into 2025 as a business owner, either you know doing it themselves or going to be working with somebody. You know, what to look for, what to stay away from, and so on.
Yes. I would say follow fundamentals, the first one, because otherwise you're going to get caught into meta released advantage plus. We have to do that and we have to do this other thing and we have to, and you're going to burn through a lot of money. Testing is the number one most important thing. And testing is born through research. And research is what's going to make the testing successful. Otherwise, you're going to burn money. So, good research and learning how to sell a product to a mass market, then testing hypotheses. And then these hypotheses are going to give you winning conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
And then the conclusions are what you will try to scale. So, research, testing, scaling. And then once you've got the testing is finished, how can I scale? Then think about scaling. Check YouTube videos, talk to people, see what other people are doing, what strategies for scaling. But I would just first concentrate on research, study competitors, study the product, the different angles, the benefits, etc., and put that into testing with different ad formats, images, videos, video like this, a video like that, an image in a split screen, an image with before and after, all of these options,
Yeah.
and try to find, if they're starting, the only concern they should have is find the number one winning ad creative to get cheap clicks out of the platform, because it's one ad. It's usually one ad.
Yeah.
It's not 80-20, it's 95-5. One ad moves the whole ad account.
Yeah.
At first, you don't need 10, 20 winning ads. No, just one ad that you can consistently increase the budget, but fight to find that ad.
Yeah.
And once you find it, a new world opens.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. Fight to find that
Yeah,
ad.
yeah.
Thank you, Manel. It's been such a great conversation, and hopefully, we'd love to have you back on and just dig in and further continue to dig on.
100%. We'll do it. Thank you so much,
All
Sasha. And
right.
again, thanks everybody who watched the whole thing through.
Yes, thank you so much again.